haven't paid. And the duck says, put it on my bill.
Brilliant.
Wah,
Brilliant. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you may be. Welcome to the digital download and happy Friday. We are the longest running weekly business LinkedIn Live. So I have the pleasure of hosting the download today, and the topic being curing revenue problems. But before we dive into that, let's do some introductions. Who would like to go first? Jordan?
Yep, I'm Jordan Abbott, B2B Social Influence and Interaction Advisor at Supero, and of course, as always, proud DLA Ignite partner.
Jensen?
Hi, I'm Jensen Abbott. I work for Supero, and I too am also a proud partner of DLA Ignite.
Tim?
Hi, I'm Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. Great subject today, and loving great debate, and I'm sure some great interaction from our audience as well. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Tim. Adam?
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm Tim's business partner and co-founder at DLA Ignite.
Rob?
Good morning, all. I'm Rob Durant, founder of Flywheel Results and a proud DLA Ignite partner.
And last, but by no means least.
Hello, everyone. I am Tracy Borison, founder of TLB Coaching and Events. And conveniently, I also happen to be a proud DLA Ignite partner. Imagine that.
As am I, as are we, Supero. So Alex Abbott, founder of Supero and proud DLA Ignite partner. So,
I feel like next episode, we should come up with a different word for proud. We should test out our thesaurus brains.
Get our thesaurus out.
Enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic partners. Okay, sorry, Alex.
That's all right. That's all right. So I guess to set the scene, to help with the conversation today, I want to tell a little bit of a story. So if I kind of rewind the clock 13 years and think about the year being kind of 2008, 9, 10 time, and Brent Adamson and Matt Dixon decided to create the Challenger sale. And, they did a lot of research with buyers, and they found that almost 60% of the purchase decision was concluded by the time a buyer would engage a seller or a supplier. So if we fast forward a little bit, Forrester found that it was closer to 70 to 90% of that purchase decision that was concluded, making it really difficult for sellers to influence the purchase decision. And then more recently, Winning by Design posted on LinkedIn about the fact that pipeline generation rates have plummeted in the last two and a bit years, and close rates have dropped by almost 50% across SMB, kind of small to medium-sized businesses and enterprise, so across the full spectrum. So we kind of wonder why, or companies wonder why they're struggling to develop pipeline, create new conversations, and it's because buyers no longer want to speak with sellers. Now, at Supero, we've been on a journey for the last 2 and a bit years, and we started life doing traditional outbound cold calling, cold emailing, and we struggled. We struggled ourselves, and we struggled to make our customers successful. And so we've been on a journey for just over a year now, and I thought Jordan, so we've got Jordan Jensen from Supero here. Jordan is, if you don't mind me saying, 26 and has 3 years experience in B2B sales, and Jensen 22 with 2 years experience. So I think they're a really good kind of example, or the three of us are a good example of kind kind of, people doing prospecting, salespeople doing prospecting, trying to generate conversations of different ages and experiences. And so with that, unless anyone wants to add anything to that, I thought we could hear from Jordan about some of his experiences.
I would just say, I think this is really, really interesting because you three represent a case study of, and a recent case study of before and after. And I think that that's the key thing here, because, so many people out there think they've missed the boat. Tim and I did a pitch to a company some years ago now, and the head of marketing said, well, we're not on Twitter, but it's too late. We should, it's not worth bothering now. And it's that kind of I've missed the boat mindset that's so incredibly damaging at times like this for organizations. So you guys are the best example that we've seen for before and after. So sorry, go on.
Sorry, can I just butt in and just emphasize that you are just like so many other organizations out there, that this is, you're not turning up and saying that social selling is the best thing since sliced bread because I've said so, or Adam has said so, or you've read a book, or somebody else has said so. You've been through a process and a journey of saying you've tried the alternatives. You're not saying that they're dead, but you've tried the alternatives, and you've also then tried social selling. And what you're able to do is actually compare the two. And you've worked, in effect, let's the way I always describe it to people is, in effect, you were a cold calling telesales agency where we could buy you, or a company could buy your services for cold calling. And now what you've done is you've trained in social selling, and we can buy, we can buy your services to be trained, or we could buy your services in terms of how social selling works. So you are a benchmark in terms of the way that social selling works in that type of environment. In a heavy sales, we need to get meetings, rather than an individual contributor, entrepreneur type environment. You're very much we need to basically take social selling and crank the handle and crank it. Yeah.
Really, really good point. And I don't just want this to be the Sapiro show, by the way. I think
but you've been on this journey, and for people, I don't want to steal your thunder, Jordan. But sure. you've taken when I talk about benchmark, you are measuring the process all the way along. And so what you're able to do is then go into organizations and say, okay, you think that you're social selling at the moment. Okay, this is our benchmark. How do you measure up against it? You've had a 2-hour hints and tips session. Okay, so you now know something about how do you measure it? How are you driving revenue from this? How are you driving meetings from it? And also your cold calling. So how are you? Let's compare the two, because what we need to do is, it's no point going out and saying cold calling is dead, or this is because there's always a method and some people say, well, I prefer it. Okay, well, you prefer it, but actually here's another method that you may want to use. And again, I'm not going to take your thunder, but maybe it's better.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think the metrics are so crucial. Working as an agency with retained clients, it was super important for us to measure every step of the way to basically show our activity, when sometimes the impact and the results weren't quite there, because, as you said, trying to get the consistency with the cold calling, with the cold emailing, with this mythical omni-channel prospecting approach, it was really tough, and we had tried everything, or it felt as if we'd tried everything, trying to warm prospects up ahead of the call. When prospects don't answer, leaving a voicemail saying that, directing them to an email, trying to connect all those dots up, but, it just didn't feel as if we were really getting anywhere. I mean, we initially started with very email heavy, then branching into cold calling, more cold calling heavy. Tried a few different initiatives along the way, being webinars as one example. But yeah, it just felt like we were sort of banging our head against the wall constantly. No matter how insightful we tried to be, but there's another point about why that insight-led approach isn't as effective.
Yeah, we sort of went through that journey, didn't we? Where it was, I think at one point we had a 26-point sales cadence that was email plus calling. We even included events in that cadence.
Well, at least it wasn't too complicated with only 26 points, was it?
Not too much, no. And then webinars became important because we felt that by creating a really interesting topic, and I'm not saying these don't work, by the way. I'm just saying, we created an interesting topic, a good discussion with a panel, and it would attract quite a lot of registrations. In some cases, we saw 600, 800, I think even at the peak, 1,000 people, 1,000 of the ICP register for the event. But they just weren't responding. So we'd have a big registration campaign, driving those registrations. We'd have the actual event, and then we'd do a lot of follow-up to try and encourage some engagement and calls. And it would fall on deaf ears, to say the least.
So even though, so of the 1,000 people who registered, who turned up? How many turned up to the event?
In some cases, it was in the hundreds.
Okay.
But when we'd call in advance and ask if there was a question that they wanted to pose to the panelists, follow up with a call and email it dotted along there. And the first challenge is data validity, trying to get mobile numbers that are real mobile numbers and obviously emails as well. But then when you did have a real one, all too often we'd make that call and say, oh, we noticed that you registered for this event. And I'd say probably about 70% of the time it was, I don't know what you're talking about. What event? So, even trying to really warm them up, trying to get that reason to call, it was still really tough.
But you were getting meetings.
We were indeed. But as we've stated on those benchmarks, best case it was a 1% booking rate.
So in terms of that, because if we think about a cold call, when we make a cold call, one is getting through. The next is getting a next step, isn't it? So I'm ringing Alex up. And I'm saying, I'm Tim Hughes. We do this, and I'm disturbing Alex. But my job is to get to the next stage, which is to get Alex to a demo, a discovery call, or something. Whatever it's going to be, something we're going to have in our sales kit bag. We're going to be driving them to do that, isn't it? So it's not just about that call; it's about that next step, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that.
So in terms of when you were doing it with the webinar, you were getting calls, but you were still not getting next steps.
Yeah, so it was a struggle to get next steps. And then as well, when we get to that next step, I think it all boils down to the underpinning approach or the denominating factor being that it was all very much insight led. How can I wow this person? How can I buy myself an extra 20, 30 seconds? How can I get them onto that call, that demo? And the part that was missing was the relationship. There wasn't a relationship there. So it was all relying on being in the right place at the right time, and best case scenario, that will appeal to 5% of the market. And Alex, as you said, by that point, they've already completed a huge part of their journey. And then there's the HBR report that was released recently, that if 90% of buyers will choose to work with a vendor that was on that day one shortlist. So it felt like sort of Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the mountain, for sure.
But when a lot of people hear the word relationship, a lot of people think, most people will tell you relationships take a long time. I've been friends with so and so for 20 years, or but I don't think that people understand that certainly in the world of social media, I can connect with somebody and I can get a conversation. There's people that I've known on Twitter and all kinds of places I've never met, but I would call them my friend. And I think sometimes when we use the word relationship, we add a time factor to it in our heads, that relationships take 18 months. And I don't have 18 months. I've got to get a number this quarter or this half year or so. And I don't have the patience for that. So immediately, quite often when we hear the word relationship, we immediately dismiss it because I don't have time. But you're actually using relationship as a way of, I've connected with you, therefore I have a relationship.
Yeah, exactly that. And it boils down to having a conversation, whether that be about something that they'd made apparent on their profile, whether they'd shared a post of their dog. It's finding something to have that initial conversation about, and then transferring that to finding out exactly what it is they do, how then we may be able to help each other.
Put it this way. So I'd say, so a year ago we started this journey. We completed the training maybe April time last year, and then we had ongoing coaching by your good selves, Adam, Tim. We found that the social selling and influence approach was working better than the cold outreach that we were doing, but there was a journey of improvement over several months. And so if I think about Jordan's performance, last year versus this year, you were maybe getting 1-2% of people agreeing to a call that you were asking, and even that was a bit of a blended approach. It was a little bit of social selling with some cold outreach.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing the report, I've got it in front of me from last week, is a 6% conversation rate. So for every 100 people you're asking, you're not only getting 6% to agree to a call, you're sitting a call with them.
Yeah.
6.7%, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, that's the average across the team.
Which is nearly 7%, isn't it? Nearly 7%.
Nearly 7%. Yeah.
Can I just dig in a little bit on that relationship piece?
Yeah.
Because I want to share an example. I really enjoy connecting with people, learning from them. I am what Malcolm Gladwell refers to in his book, The Tipping Point, a connector. I love meeting somebody, learning from them, hearing what they do, and then thinking, who do I know that needs what they offer, or who do I know that offers what they need, and love facilitating introductions like that. So I had a connection request earlier this week, and I will honestly admit, most connection requests coming from somebody in a business development representative type of role, I don't accept anymore, simply because I know what's coming. It's the connect and pitch. This one fooled me. There were some red flags, but it fooled me. The red flag being their profile picture had them in a baseball cap. Yeah, truly, they're in a call center and an SDR type of role, but it got past me. We connected, and they reached out and said, hey, wouldn't it be great to get on a call just to get to know each other? Love the idea of that. I offer that to people all of the time. So when somebody offers that to me, I jump on that because, again, that opportunity to connect. No sooner did I agree to it than he sent me a message. Okay, is the best number XYZ? He had a phone number that I use when I don't want people to know my phone number. So he's using Zoom info or something like that. And the calendar invite comes through. It's a phone call between me and somebody at his company. Wait a minute. What happened to the networking, the get to know each other? No sooner did I receive that than I declined it, said, guess this wasn't a networking call after all. I canceled the meeting and I disconnected from that person because there was no relationship at all.
Well, there was no desire to build a relationship, was there?
Exactly. And that was the frustrating part. Had we gotten on a call and there was something of some value for me to speak to this other person, I would have gladly accepted that second call. But there was what's in it for me? There was nothing. I was just so frustrated at that. So there's relationship building, and then there's relationship building gone awry. And I'd say that was the case here, which is really challenging for so many companies out there that think, oh, we're doing social sales.
Yeah.
Well, and I think like in that specific scenario, people are just using tactics, right? We're not talking about like what is the people mindset going into this, because that's another thing when it comes to social selling. Social selling can be interpreted in a huge amount of ways, right? I always like how Adam says social is mindset, not a platform, right? It's about being social. What does it look like to be social? Right? And like each of us has a different way it looks for us to be social, but it's about being social, having conversations with people because you want to have a conversation, not because you want to sell them something. If you have a conversation and you can sell them something, awesome, right? And if you want to choose people who theoretically can buy something for you, that's a good way to cut down on the amount of conversations that you might be having. But one of the things that I always, I'm a personal branding coach, right? So for me, it's always about my personal brand first. I did this post a couple of days ago about being a tornado of creation because somebody called me that. And I was like, this is so amazing. And I've had like 3 people in my network since then being like, I'm also a tornado. You need to be my coach. And I'm like, perfect, right? And it has everything to do with like who I am as a person, right? It doesn't have almost anything to do with what I'm selling, right? It's because people want to be with and hang out with specific types of people. They want to do that in real life and they want to do it socially as well. So
I think that the problem, further to your point, Tracy, is that social selling shouldn't even be a thing. It should be social networking. It's about networking with people and getting to know them. And although obviously our clients and us, we have a fiscal demand on us in terms of making revenue. At the end of the day, there's something incredibly unattractive about kind of opening your coat and having a row of secondhand watches in it. You know, which one would you like to buy? and it smacks very much of that, like Danny DeVito in his plaid jacket, you know, on a used car lot selling stuff. But it was really interesting, Alex and Jordan, that you were talking about the percentages. I don't care about the percentages. The old way, how many calls a week were you having, Jordan?
Best case, sort of 2, I'd say.
Okay, now how many calls a week are you having?
This week I've had 22 and I've got 2. this afternoon / evening, averaging around 10, 11.
So that's the key thing for me. The key thing is that this is not about some mystique around. Well, we're getting this response rate because we've doubled the number of people that we're. This is absolutely about how many of those key KPIs, the key objectives and performance indicators, have you achieved doing it way number one versus way number two. And it's an order of magnitude more. And I think that for anybody watching that's in a sales role, the challenge that Jordan has, that most people, and Jensen, that Alex and Tim and myself and even Tracy to a lesser extent don't have, is that you guys, Jordan and Jensen, are really young. So when you're trying to reach out to a head of marketing, a head of sales, a CEO, it's like, what the hell do I want to talk to you for? There's nothing that you can tell me that I don't already know, because I've been in business for 35 years and you've been in business for 35 minutes. So you can't bring me any insights that I haven't seen before. And yet, despite having that mountain to climb, you are outperforming any other salesperson in the world that has to do their own prospecting. That's the long and the short of it. So I think that if you have the deck loaded in your favor, if you're an experienced salesperson that has 20 years experience of solving problems and has a huge network already and has long-term relationships in these industries and amongst the people that are truly influential and have huge networks, how easy would it be for these people to stack their diaries from start to finish every single week? But the problem is that they haven't got the tools to be able to do it. They haven't got the tools, they haven't got the discipline, they haven't got the process. And that's the bit that's missing. And it's those cogs that go in the machine. Tim said about cranking the handle on the sausage machine. And, for so many organizations, those cogs are missing, or people within the cogs are missing. They don't know what they need to do, and they don't know how to convert a bit of interest or having a call into something tangible in an efficient way.
Yeah.
We've got some great audience comments. I want to make sure we bring those up. Ellen Kumar shares, the beauty of a LinkedIn network is the various ways you can engage with your connections and their firms. And then we have from Carol Jean Whittington, aren't we all looking for ways to do things easier, faster, or better? Sharing our solutions to meet those needs versus service selling, in my book.
Yeah, that's the problem, Rob. I think so many companies are so focused on the, where do I focus my time? Let me find the 3 to 5% of companies in market, and let me build a sales and marketing function that searches for those people and then qualifies those people in, and they're missing out on the 95% of the market that, if they built a relationship with, as we're talking about here today, would actually get on every one of those opportunities or shortlists as they happened.
Well, if you put Carol Jean's comment back up, I think that this highlights a potential problem in a lot of ways that organizations communicate. It tends to be organizations rather than individuals that communicate. It's like sharing our solutions to meet the needs of the customer. The customer doesn't care. It's like you at the beginning, Alex, said, we created a webinar and it was a really interesting webinar. To you, and I'm being deliberately kind of sarcastic when I say that, it's like, I've got this fantastic solution. You have to know about my solution. It's absolutely brilliant, because the buyer has never heard that before from anyone, have they? Because everyone says, yeah, our product's a bit expensive. It's fifth best in the market. We're not really that reliable. Everybody tells you they're market leading. Everybody tells you they're brilliant. And as a buyer of a product, I'm, in all honesty, fairly ignorant about the product that I'm buying. Because if I wasn't ignorant about it, I wouldn't be buying it. I'd be doing it myself. So I'm buying it because you know more about it than me. So that little bit of brilliance that you've got over and above everybody else, I can't see that. I'm still focusing on the fact that, it's got a big red button in the middle. That's excellent. And I think that the challenge is that when we speak to people, we're doing it based on the fact that they're in the same frame of reference as us, that they understand these things. And the
That
beauty of
webinar. Oh, go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, the beauty of doing it your way, Jordan, is that you're having a conversation with, you're trying to make them your friend. You're trying to build some sort of relationship, not at the early stage, a commercial relationship, a relationship with the person. Do you like each other? Could you work together? Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we'll see if it goes somewhere then.
So Jordan, sorry to butt in. So you're having 2 calls a week before when you were cold calling. You're now having, this week you've got 24 calls, but an average 10 or 11. How many of those go to a next action?
So it's gone up to 37.6%.
37.6. So when you were cold calling, how many of the 2 calls a week went to the next action?
0.3.
That for those of us in the States, that's 0.3.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. Adam, I just wanted to share when you were saying the event was interesting to you, it reminds me of being invited to that wedding where you don't know either side of the bride or the groom's family. You're just there for the free food and drink.
Yeah, that was like my own wedding, actually.
But Jordan, I mean, the fact that what you've been able to do is not only increase the number of people that are willing to have a call with you, but also increase the number of people that are willing to go to a next action. And it's nearly 40%.
Yeah, and look, not only that, I think one of the key benefits for me, obviously those numbers are fantastic, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but I'm enjoying my job so much more than before. I was at the point where I was thinking, oh, maybe sales isn't for me. Maybe I need to go and do something else. Now I love it. I love the process. I think previously I had this image of a grey suit and a briefcase, and that's the mold I needed to fit. Whereas now it's a lot freer. I would hope that my prospects or the people that I'm speaking to are also enjoying the process a lot more. So it's got this sort of holistically sort of positive effect that's taking place. I mean, how are you finding it, gents?
Yeah, so thanks, George. Yeah, I totally agree. And on your point, kind of for last year, I felt exactly the same. I felt I was getting nowhere. You start to question your ability. You start to question if people actually want to talk to you, and you question if you're actually not liked. It's like, why am I that ugly that people don't want to talk to me? It's you start to kind of criticize yourself based on the approach, and now kind of changing that. It's people just. It seems like they just want to talk to you now. Whether that's because the content that you're putting out, whether it's because you're actually being genuine, you're letting others see you for who you are. And I've had calls today where people reference this picture a lot, and that's my daughter, and it's a great conversation starter. And before I talk about anything to do with work or anything like that, that is the first thing on every call. I kid you not. Every call this week, that has been the first topic, and it's something that people relate to you. A lot of people have kids, so being able to have that topic where you can really start to build a relationship and kind of see the person for who they are. It's nice that now kind of people are more inclined to find out more about me, which is good. So yeah, it's nice.
So, but both of you are really happy.
Good looking.
No, really hideous. And despite that, you're doing well. So no, but both of you are really happy now compared to how you were. Both of you are really successful now compared to how you were. So, what is the secret? Because there will be people out there that are watching this that will be getting 3 calls a quarter and would kill for 5 calls a week. You know, that it's outside of their scope of understanding. So how are you able to do that when they're not? Because they've got a computer, they've got a telephone, they've got a LinkedIn profile. What are you doing to? Because it's not like, oh, I had a really good week this week and I had 5 calls. It's like, I'm going to have 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever it is calls every single week, week after week after week after week after week. So how are you doing that when others can't?
I think it's one, being open minded, and two, it's being able to adapt to the fact that things are changing, kind of approaches, methods are changing, and kind of one example that I can think of is actually Beyonce. When she set up her own brand, she was very closed, kind of closed as a person, didn't really want to connect with her fans or share much about herself. She soon learned that she actually needs to she needs to connect more with her fans and be more open and transparent, show people who she really is, and people connect with that. And now we're talking about Beyonce as a superstar of the world that's had to do that. So I think it's just being able to be open-minded, know that you've got to adapt in times and the methods that you use to get the results that you want. Or I've found that myself. So I never used to like to post. I was actually scared of posting because I thought I'd be judged. I thought, oh, people are going to care about my content. People are going to think, oh, why has he posted that? When actually it's you've got to forget, kind of think of LinkedIn as a judgment-free zone, and you post your content because you would like to add value to other people, and your audience will tell you if it's a good bit of content. And if it's a piece of content that gets no engagement, it's not the end of the world. You're not going to die. You can always post again tomorrow. So it's being able to, I think for me myself, it's just being able to adapt and to the activities that are needed to be done.
So Jordan, what do you do? Because you know, at the end of the day, we've got people out there that are spending 4 hours a day leaving answer phone messages, and the few times that somebody does pick up the phone by accident, they immediately slam it down again. So what are you doing that's meaning that you are getting traction that others aren't?
Yeah, so I create content that I'm passionate about topics that I'm passionate about, and try and do it in a creative, outside of the box way. I mean, creativity is one of my sort of key values that, you know, I wasn't feeding or watering before, but now I am. I consistently connect with people, consistently take an interest in others, and I think, you know, to go back to the old adage of, you know, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, use it in that quantities. Here it's, you know, you have 2 eyes and 2 thumbs and 1 mouth, use them in that quantity. Like, I spend the vast majority of my day engaging with other people's content. And it sort of creates this 3-pronged benefit. You know, initially I'm learning about these other people. Second, if I can engage with it, I'm keeping myself in the line of sight. And third, it gives me inspiration for my own content. And yeah, just conversing with people, obviously then asking for the call, and then I probably spend 50% of my time on calls, first calls, and then just under 20% of my time on follow-ups, and then the rest of my day is creating content, building relationships.
And it's targeted though, right? So these aren't just any people.
No.
These are your ICP, the accounts.
Exactly.
Talk a little bit about the way in which you connect with people.
Yeah,
because
so,
you know, a lot of people think, well, I can send a connection request, and to Rob's point, they're often ignored. So, you know, how do you you know, because you I think out of the 3 of us, your connection acceptance rates are better than ours. 70%.
Andrew had a great point about that. Before you answer that, I just want to make sure that we call that out too. In part of the main problem is that people are on the defensive from past experience, that, as Rob said, see a certain job title and their guard is already up. do you feel that you're fighting that too?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think that there is a stigma surrounding the profession. Hollywood, scrap that, history hasn't necessarily painted the profession in the best light. So I think, I think you mentioned the other day, Rob, the first thing that you ask your students to do is to challenge that stigma of what sales as a profession
Absolutely
has become in the eyes of buyers. So I think, yeah, it's really crucial. And part of that is just by being genuine and trying to talk and just build a relationship and learn about the other person.
Yeah, and I just want to add something here because Alex, you referenced the ICP, ideal customer profile, a couple of times, and I just wanted to talk quickly about a piece of content that Jordan put out, where he redid the lyrics of "Lose Yourself" by Eminem and made it about social selling, and it's to date the best piece of content I have ever seen on LinkedIn. Now, there will be other people who don't agree with that, right? Like they resonate with other content, but that speaks to a personal preference that a person has, right? Like some people might not like rap music, some people might have their opinions about Eminem as a human, right? Like I love him, right? I'm like just doing yourself in the sea of people who would seem the same. That's a thing I like, right? And so when I saw that, I was like, yes, and it's something that really resonated with me. And I think when we are talking about connections and effectiveness at connecting, the more that we're willing to reveal those pieces of ourselves, hey, I think it would be fun to do this, and you just do it, there will be people who love it and there'll be people it doesn't resonate with. But for the people who it does resonate with, that creates an instant connection. And even if Jordan, you and I have never even had a one-on-one conversation yet, which we should. But
Definitely.
I will always remember that about you, and I will always remember that's you, right? So if you invite me to an event or whatever, I would be like, oh, hey, that's that fun guy that redid that music video, right? So, and we can't always predict, we can't always ideal customer profile those types of things, right? But we can learn more about who our ideal targets are when we start to build those types of connections. And those types of connections are always based on who you are as a person and not what you do as a business.
Yeah.
Yes, certainly.
Very well said. Yeah.
My next hit is on its way.
Excellent. We're looking forward to that. And I must admit, Jordan, it was excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got my wig and costume already. So, yeah. But yeah, just to circle back to your question, Alex, I think, and sort of looping in with the ICP, there's two sort of approaches that I take. There's obviously a list of businesses that I'd like to work with that I've identified as target accounts. And then there's the more mass approach, which I'm constantly looking for content that is relevant, that's telling a story, and then identifying who out of those engagers, those people that have shared an interest in that piece of content, I can then go and connect with.
And it doesn't have to be your own content.
It's dynamic. No.
It can be a topic. Yeah.
Exactly. And then in relation to, how I connect, I live for those 1 second laughs, so I always try and lead with a joke that's about the business that they work for or what their business does. So recently, one that stuck with me was targeting a labeling company, and the joke that I led with was I started writing jokes on the labels of my OXO cubes. They've turned into a real laughing stock. So You know,
Yeah, I wouldn't have that at the top of my favourites list.
no, you know, it entertains me, and hopefully it brings a smile onto their face.
So wait a minute now. You're connecting, and then you pitch when? Exactly. Exactly.
You don't pitch, so you must pitch at some point, though, Jordan.
Once there's a genuine interest and someone has asked for more information to find out how we might be able to help them across any number of reasons. But once I've been invited in.
So you're not selling, you're letting them buy, you mean?
I guess
Very
so.
nice.
And I think this kind of goes back to Carol Jean's comment earlier, right? Like, people want to fix their problems, but they don't want you to sell them something. But they will buy something if they think it can fix their problem.
Yeah.
So give them the chance to figure that out about you, right? Like, are you somebody who legitimately cares about fixing their problem? And here's the thing, because I think we've all had, or I for sure have had, those engagements where you're like, this person can't possibly care about fixing my problem, right? This person cares about hitting a number, right? They don't actually care about fixing my problem. And so these are some of the things that sales teams need to look at, right? If we created a sales environment where people are just going for this number and we've erased their caring about helping people, because maybe we need to, like, numbers are important. We can't have no numbers, right? If we have no calls, we don't have any business. But at the same time, the energy in which you do those calls, like you were saying, Jordan and Ginger, like, you're having fun doing it, right? Like, when you have fun doing it, one, you'll do more of it. And two, it'll be more impactful because people are like, oh, this person is having fun. That's fun, right? So as a like sales team, this is something we have to look at as in terms of the culture of the sales department as well, to say, like, are we, like, have we built, I've worked for sales teams where it's only about the numbers, right? And not even the conversion numbers, like about the how many calls did you make a week? So everybody would make 125 calls a week and nobody would book any meetings. Oh, good. This is doing a lot of good stuff.
Did you phone your mother, Tracy? Because that's concluded as a call.
Right. Did you call her every day? That counts as
The
5.
speaking clock.
But the calls have to be short because they have to show you're productive. So you have to be on the phone to your mum.
Which is why the
Hold on,
speaking
I'll call you
clock
back.
would be a good thing.
Hello, mum, it's me again.
Which is why you have to call them so often, right? But these are the things, and we just put these numbers into place, right? And we say, like, okay, make 125 calls a week. That's 25 calls a day. Have we done the math? That means, like, between like thought processing time and dialing time, this is giving ourselves like 5 minutes for every call. Can you make a connection with someone in 5 minutes? I had someone once who said, let's have a get to know each other 7-minute call. And I was like, I'm sorry, I can't get to know anybody in 7 minutes. Like, that's a pitch call, right? Let's not, you're giving me 3 minutes to pitch and you're giving yourself 3 minutes to pitch. This is what this is. I don't do that.
They weren't going to give you 3 minutes to pitch. Don't kid yourself.
They were going to. True. Oh, can I just share something fun with you guys, though? Because I was on a networking event yesterday, not my own networking event, which I held later in the day, and then I felt better about networking. But like, so it was this networking event, and everyone's supposed to give their like 30-second elevator pitch. And it came to my time, and I'm like, I don't believe in a 30-second elevator pitch. So I'm just going to talk about myself for 30 seconds. And I talk about how I'm like a mom, and I like to drink tea and not coffee. I'm like all of these things that humans actually connect with, and not your 30-second elevator pitch, especially when they don't know you, right? Like, so anyway, I thought that was a fun fact, kind of relevant to the conversation.
Brilliant. So, George, the other thing I think worth surfacing is the percentage of calls that you have that are with, you know, the ideal stakeholder or the primary stakeholder, because you don't care too much about ensuring it's with the right person. You have a blend of, you know, different types of stakeholders that you happily talk to. Can you talk us through why that is and the benefits of doing that?
Yeah, sure. So look, at the end of the day, obviously, we all want to speak to the decision maker, the budget holder, but more often than not, they don't want to speak to us. So I'm quite happy to connect and talk with anyone that's within that sphere of the business, see if I can help them in any way, share little nuggets of insight, find out a little bit more about what they've done, what's worked for them in the past, what in an ideal world, what they would do. Again, it's building relationships, and then there's three outcomes to, or maybe four, three outcomes of any call. Let's say it's with the buyer, with the decision maker. So then I can try and progress that if there's interest, of course. If they're working within the business and they're an influencer, then I'll ask to see who else I should be talking to, if anyone. And then thirdly, if nothing else, I've just spent 30 minutes with quite a cool person and found out a little bit more about themselves. So I'm quite happy to, I guess it comes back to a conversation I was having with someone that was asking about my approach, and I sort of laid it out to them, and they said, "How on earth do you have time?" And I said, "Well, I don't cold call." So that 4 hours that I would be spending cold calling, I spend doing this, connecting with people and
having meetings,
having conversations.
By the sound of it.
Yeah.
It's a common objection when we're talking about social selling, is I don't have time. I know we've talked about this before, Rob, in terms of doing that sort of activity assessment. So, well, what are you doing on a daily basis? And of those things, which ones could you replace with something that is actually productive?
Stop, continue, start. Yep.
Yeah.
And this is something I feel like, too, there's maybe a little bit of ego at the table when people look at what they're doing, and what they're doing is filling their day, but they're not getting the results that they want. And there's this mindset that you have to do more. And to some degree in society, we propagate that, right? And everybody is working ridiculous hours and burned out, and this has just become normal nowadays. But the point is that most of us, especially in a corporate work scenario, so when I was in corporate marketing, 90% of the things that I did not contribute to revenue. And it felt bad for me, right? I didn't want to go to work and not contribute to things, right? I wanted to contribute to things. And if I have been given the space to say hey, let's look at what you're doing and take away some things that aren't being productive and try some new things that might be productive. And if they're not productive, we can switch those out too. But let's look at evolving this so people are doing things that are doing things. Then this is another thing that contributes to the happiness, right? People want to do things that feel like they're going somewhere, that they're meaningful to a business. People don't actually want to just sit there. I mean, I guess I'll speak for myself, but I have had jobs where I sit there and mostly do nothing and just have to sit there for 8 hours a day. And I felt like it was a huge waste of my time. Right?
Shuffling paper is never entertaining, is it?
No. And then you create that environment, and then you expect people to be super engaged by doing 125 calls a week that isn't taking them anywhere, right? These are the things. It's not about taking what you have right now and piling social selling on top of it so that you spend more time. It's about peeling away those things and just saying, okay, maybe they worked before, they're not working now. Let's let them go. Let's try something that's working now, and maybe we can sell something.
Jensen.
Tracy, I've had jobs like that, and I've always said that looking busy at work is more exhausting than actually being busy at work.
Especially being busy doing something that's fun for you.
Oh, amen.
Jensen.
Awesome. So I just thought, if anyone's watching and wanted to know if they can do anything, any activities from today to help, I have 4 activities or things that you could do to help you start taking the right journey or steps. And it relates to the post that I done yesterday. So the first one is being human and authentic. So being yourself, letting people see who you really are. The second one is engage with your audience. So don't be scared to like, comment, share, or share your point of view on someone's post. Engage with your audience and let them know that you're there and you're not just a shadow. The third one is connect to your network. Be curious to find out more about the other person. Don't just talk at someone, let them talk, and be curious to find out more about them and who they really are. And then the fourth and final one is creating valuable content. Now, I want to challenge anyone who's watching to actually make a video of themselves, introducing themselves to their network, and say 3 simple things about yourselves, if that's activities you like doing or just anything that's interesting about yourself. And you'll be surprised how many people will engage and actually maybe even send you a message and say, hey, I like doing that activity too. Let's connect and chat. Because you're really pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, but you'll find that people will actually connect with you for who you really are.
That's
Great.
awesome.
Perfect.
That's a really great suggestion, Jensen. Fantastic.
But wait a minute. You've been in the business world for 5 minutes. What do you know about anything? Right?
Well, do you know what, Rob? I know this because I actually done the video myself. So if you look at my profile, when we first started the training with DLA Ignite, I actually hated posting the video. And if you ask Alex, I sat there for half an hour debating whether to post it because I don't know if I looked good enough. I don't. All of these big mind blockers. And do you know what? I sat there and I posted it, and I had people, 1, offer me a job, 2, wanting to know me, and 3, jump on a call because they thought I was interesting. So yeah, I mean, for everyone, get out and try it.
That's great advice. Great advice.
Brilliant advice. And there's a comment there from Scott and Ellen, I think there's Scott's comment you're showing now. Would it help if I kind of summarize the metrics that we're seeing as a result of everything that we're talking about? Because if you think about us, our small business, there's 5.5 of us in the business. The 3 of us that you see here are all actively, selling. And I should say Jensen has a dual role. So, he isn't doing this full time. But that said, when I think about, the fact that we don't have a sales and marketing budget, and I look at what social selling is doing for us, network is the first key measure for us. So growing our network and increasing the activity levels within the network. Our combined network is, as of week 10. So we did a 10. We're doing an ongoing test. We're in week 11, but we've got the data for 10 weeks. Our combined network is 19,683. And so we've grown our combined network by 11% in 10 weeks. Followers are growing at 11.7%. So we're growing the following a bit more than we are the network size. I guess that would imply that our content is interesting because a few more people are following us than connecting. We've posted 151 posts between us. So just over 50 each in 10 weeks. Within those posts, 64 of them, within the 151 posts, 64 of them have been human posts. So with our face in, that's what gets the engagement, just like Jensen was talking about there. You want to give your network the kind of the ability to feel like they can get to know you a little bit, and that increases the engagement. The impressions off the back of that, for the marketers out there, 150,000 impressions on our content in 10 weeks. It's almost 1,000 impressions per piece of content. We've received 2,635 pieces of engagement on our content. So when someone drops a like or a comment, that gives us the opportunity to enter into a conversation, to say, hey, thanks, nice to see you drop a like, make a comment. We've made almost 2,000. So we've returned the favor 2,000 times. So we've dropped a like or we've commented on someone's post. So like Jordan was saying, looking for those topics to get into a conversation about that topic, where our target audience is, So we increase our visibility in front of our target audience. And that's 639 times each in 10 weeks that we've done that. It's really important to keep that up. We've requested a call with 11.3% of our total combined networks. And so we measure that, we track that. So we're asking most people we connect with, as well as existing people within our network who are consuming our content. And as you mentioned earlier, Tim, 6.7% of those people we ask agree to the call. 37.6% progress to a next step, a meaningful next step. And currently we're getting to, 26.8% we're getting to pitch. So we're now playing around with some of the things that we do on a weekly basis to kind of fine tune those numbers and see if we can improve them. The measurement's been
that is
awesome.
Truly remarkable stats to achieve.
Yeah. I know we're up against the top of the hour. I don't want to introduce a new topic at this point, but just something that you said reminded me of something I was saying with someone else earlier in the week. You were talking about the commenting. My quip to them was, the commerce is in the comments. It's that relationship. It's that engagement. I see Tim's got his blog on that already.
He's just published it actually while we were speaking.
There you go. Alex, you want to take us out?
Yeah, brilliant. I think you've almost done it there, Rob. But great session. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for the opportunity to tell our story, guys. Really do appreciate it. And enjoy the weekend.
And thank you for coming on and sharing that. It's been fantastic, Alex.
Yes,
Jensen and Jordan is awesome.